It's Dew Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Dew Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Let's Talk About It Tuesday Church Folk Day. And we got to talking about the times when we think there's a tragedy that's being done, or travesty that's been done, or there's some injustice that we're enduring, and yet God is stepping in. No sooner than yesterday. I always tell my congregation, everything we study is for God's purpose in your life, because no sooner than we talk about it, than we study it, we walk right into it. And I ended up speaking to a mom who had 2 adult children, by the grace of God, just escaped a fire. Now, the interesting part was the boy child, the man child, was supposed to be gone. He was traveling out of town. But because he got sick and ended up having to stay in a hospital, he ended up being home recovering from when he should have been in the hospital having surgery, but they could not accommodate his needs at that particular hospital, so they were sending him to another hospital. Well, he went home, and a couple of days later, lo and behold, a fire breaks out, and the sister is in the house, and she's sleeping. Now, this is overnight, and they're sleeping, and he now is trying to wake her up, and he can't get her up. So he literally has to bang on the door, bang on the door, bang on the door. She's still not waking up. He goes inside, and lo and behold, he's got to shake her, literally. Shake her, shake her, shake her. And she then wakes up. Had he not been home. So if we looked at it, well, you know what? Oh, man, I have to be in the hospital. I'm about to have surgery, and now I was supposed to be out of town, and I should be with my family, and I want to be doing this, and I want to be doing that, and oh my goodness, I'm sick now. Had it not been for him being home, his sister may have perished in the fire. So where we think that there's a travesty, where we think that, things are not going the way we would like it to go, God has got our back for real. He sees around the corner, as my grandmother used to always say. And wow, we are so grateful to God for all the times he steps in. And we think it's something going wrong, but it's him just filling in that gap, or him moving things out of the way, or him just making way for something else, or him saving our lives. What more could we possibly ask for when we believe that, it's just so unfair? And why doesn't God let this happen? And why doesn't God let that happen? And I wish things were this way, and I wish things were that way. And I have learned, this is a more recent focus or shift, changing of the way I think. Just saying, stop complaining. Stop complaining about certain things, because you don't know what God is doing in the background. And that's exactly what we talked about yesterday. So if you can reflect on some time where you just really would have preferred for things to be better, for things to be different, for things to happen for you differently, you have to ask yourself, is God saying no for a reason? Is God saying no, but I'm pushing through and he's trying to actually save my life? What could it possibly be that thing? Well, let's go with that. Let's go with there are times when God needs to step in with his infinite wisdom, with his omnipresence, and do his thing. All right? All right. Well, that's how we spent our Tuesday. Go back and watch, go back and listen. It was one dynamic conversation. A lot of things came up. So it just might benefit you to go back and listen. And I know it will benefit you. All right? All right. Well, today is Wow Wednesday, everybody. God has got us halfway through the week, and we're giving him thanks. We're about to go with, and get our girlfriend Vivian's socially conscious segment. So go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody, anybody, everybody that it's due time when Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Guys, stop smoking and detox. Pretty please. Is anybody listening out there? Share this video with somebody that you care about. Not only do you have to stop smoking, but you also have to detox. And let me explain why. So if you're new here, you just open up your app, you're gonna find out some interesting things. I know you're probably smoking right now, but let me tell you exactly what you're doing to your lungs. So existing inside of your lungs are these things called alveoli. They're in everybody's lungs. And alveoli are responsible for putting oxygen inside of your blood. Without that, you won't exist. You won't be here anymore. So you see this right here? This is called the alveolus gas exchange. Anytime you put anything other than oxygen inside of your alveolus gas exchange, mucus and inflammation develops inside of the alveoli. Then your alveoli will begin to look like this. You see how this is callous, dark, and black? Yeah, once that happens in your lungs, you're going to develop something called smoker's lung. And that's going to look something like this. You see how this is is dark and callous and black? You don't want your lungs to look like that. You want your lungs to look like mine, teeming with life, vibrant and pink. Now, there's a solution. You can stop smoking. Of course, that's the number one solution. But also, along with stopping of smoke, with quitting smoking and discontinuing smoking,
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And oh man, we missed like a key component to the video. So hopefully we'll get, the rest of it. Well, it is Wow Wednesday, and let's get to our girl Vivian and her socially conscious segment. Let's say good morning to Viv. Hey Viv.
Good morning. Happy Wow Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well, thank you. I am well. How are you?
I am cold. I don't know what happened to fall. We just jumped straight into winter.
Yes.
What's going on?
Oh, I don't know, girl, but I agree. Boo, it's cold outside. Well, I know your socially conscious segment is going to warm us up. So what you got for us today?
All right, today on Socially Conscious, we are starting off with somewhat of an updated story. We spoke last week about Rikers and the prison system and how they said there were so many inmates in prison with mental health issues. And the due time crew turned it over to the correctional officers and the employees of said prisons and their mental health. And then I came across this week a story on just that. They say a 55-year-old employee at Marcy Correctional Facility in upstate New York died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound while on prison grounds. According to New York State Police, investigators say no foul play is suspected, and the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision has acknowledged the tragedy while withholding the employee's name. The incident has shaken staff at the facility and raised questions about what may have led up to the moment. They're saying this case also shines a spotlight on the rarely discussed mental health crisis facing correctional employees. National studies show that officers and staff inside prisons experience some of the highest rates of PTSD, burnout, depression, and suicide of any other profession. They say correctional officers have a suicidal rate that is nearly 4 times higher than the general population. I did a little bit of research, and the research says on average over 300 correctional officers die by suicide each year in the United States. 1 in 3 correctional officers suffer from PTSD, a rate comparable to combat veterans. Correctional officers have a life expectancy of 59 years, which is one of the lowest of all public safety professions. And lastly, they say more than 60% of correctional staff report symptoms of depression, chronic anxiety, or burnout due to understaffing, long shifts, and exposure to trauma. So look how God just tied that all together for us from one week to the next. Next, we have a report for the parents of any formula-fed kiddos. A multi-state alert has gone out after 13 babies in 10 different states, including New Jersey, were hospitalized with infant botulism. The cases are linked to a recalled baby formula known by Heart with a use-by date of December 1st, 2026. So infant botulism is a rare but dangerous illness that happens when bacteria in a baby's gut produce a toxin that affects their nerves, leading to weak muscles, trouble feeding, constipation, and breathing problems. Parents are being urged to stop using the recalled formula immediately. Monitor your babies for these symptoms, which can show up to days or even weeks later. So make sure you're monitoring your little ones. And if you suspect that they may have this infection or disease, make sure you get them to a hospital as soon as possible. Next, we are talking about the government shutdown. They're saying the Senate finally passed a quick fix to end the 41-day government shutdown, voting 60-40. They're saying next it goes to the House, and if the House agrees, the government will reopen, workers will get paid again, and major programs like food assistance will be safe for now. The funding will only last until January of 2026. So it's basically just a, like they said, quick fix, a Band-Aid, not a real solution. But there's some drama. Democrats wanted this bill to include extra health care discounts under the Affordable Care Act, and it did not make the cut. All they got was a promise to talk about it later, which left a lot of people in the party frustrated. So yes, this could possibly end the shutdown, But the big money fights are not over. It stops some of the bleeding, let's say, but it gets messy in just a couple of weeks because we're weeks away from the new calendar year. So they have temporarily found a solution. Hopefully they will find a permanent solution, reopen the government, and we'll be all good. And now we have our wow story of the week, which is definitely a sad one. They're saying a 9-year-old baby, a 9-day-old baby gets rushed to the hospital after her parents claim she fell out of the stroller while one of the parents was jogging. But the doctors took one look at this baby and knew for sure that their story was false. This tiny newborn had signs of abuse, including burns on the bottom of her feet, cuts on her head and face, and bruises on her back, as well as some broken ribs at just 9 days old. And so, of course, they called the police. An autopsy found that blunt force trauma, inconsistent with a stroller fall, was her cause of death. At sentencing, the judge noted how malnourished the baby had been and the lack of an explanation for her injuries from the parents were also discussed. They say her injuries were so extreme that one investigator said it was one of the worst cases they had ever seen in a baby that young. The parents kept to their story that she fell from the stroller while jogging, but again, the autopsy said otherwise. And the worst of it all is that the grandfather was there at the hospital that the day the baby was born. And according to him, he tried his best to get them some help. He said he raised concerns because he believed the baby was in danger and that the parents' version of the events did not add up. This comes after the baby passed. According to his account, when he was at the hospital saying that they would not make fit parents, they should not be allowed to take the baby home. He says the hospital staff did not act on his warning in any way that would prevent the child's death. He felt his concern was dismissed and ignored. He says, I said I feared for the girl's life. What in the world else am I supposed to do? Now, instead of celebrating the birth of my grandchild, I am now planning her funeral because nobody listened. They both took plea deals. Dad got 19 years and mom got 10 years for child abuse. What a sad story. But this has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me on Facebook. My username there is VivianBM. And come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal listeners. And thank you, Pastor Steph.
You gonna leave us with this? Yo. Okay, wait. Okay, so Dad got 19 years and mom got what?
10 years for child abuse.
And Dad and Granddad said this when the baby was born at the hospital?
Yes, at the hospital.
Okay,
yes.
okay. Child. That's not fair. You can't, it's like you threw the bomb in the room and you just ran away, girl. Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but wow.
You're going to be at work wishing you had this conversation with us today.
I am.
Oh, thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. We miss you, girl. We miss you.
I miss you guys, too.
Oh, thank you so much. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You know, whoa, and whoa. This ain't just one wild story. This is a whole slew of wild stories. Well, we got to go backwards. You know, we start off early with Vivian on Wednesdays, but we got to say good morning to everybody in like viewer world. So, thank you so much for joining us. Let's say good morning to Terrence. Good morning, Terrence, my king. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. Let's say good morning to our girl, Ketty. Hey, Ketty girl. Hey. Let's say good morning to our girl, Teresa. Good morning, Teresa. We got a check-in from our lady, Tamika. Look forward to talking to you in a couple of minutes. And Serge is checking in. Good morning, Serge. And we got Miss Grace. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, we can't go any further without saying good morning to the ladies that truly hold it down for us. Let's say good morning to our girl Shantice. Hey, Shantice. And let's say good morning to our girl Anika. Good morning, and good morning. Oh man, let's dive in. Let's dive in to this monstrosity of socially conscious. You know, too bad we can't say these things are made up, because woo! All right. So we start off with a kind of like a continuation from our conversation last week with Vivian, where we talked about what goes on over at Rikers Island. And we were talking about, as she said, the fact that we have like mental illness all over the place in Rikers Island. Well, lo and behold, she comes back this week with the fact that there's a 55-year-old man who committed suicide, took his own life at the Marcy prison system here in New York State. And he shot himself right on the grounds. And that brings up an issue of mental illness, that they have the correctional officers have the highest rates of trauma in their job. Yeah. PTSD, burnout, depression, and suicide above any other profession. And this is crazy, because they said 300 of them, I believe Vivian said last year, died by suicide, and their life expectancy is only at 59 years old. And more than too many reports talk about depression, long shifts, and exposure to trauma. And this is extreme. Extreme. Let's get our girl Tamika on. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Happy wow. Wow.
I mean, you can't say it any other way.
No.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Let's say good morning to Shantice before you get started. Good morning, Shantice.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, we couldn't even get a real wow Wednesday this morning talking about these stories here. Let's get started with this suicide right after we just talked about this issue not just 7 days ago. What you got, Lady Tamika?
I don't get it. You know, I'm looking at, we just finished talking about, you know, although we were specifically talking about Rikers, and now we're talking about Marcy Correctional. It goes to show you, you know, it's across the board, you know, and if it's not just New York, it's everywhere. But, you know, because we're in New York, we're hearing about these things that's happening. And, you know, I'm so sorrowful that, you know, that happens. If we're talking about correctional officers, my brother-in-law is an actual correctional officer, and the secrets that they keep and the things that they go through and the long, grueling hours, somebody, sometimes they do double and triple shifts because people are not coming in for one. Then you have a lack of employees, and then there are things that go on. There's trauma that goes on in the workplace, and nobody's listening to them either. You've got a supervisor, and I'm telling you, there's a dilemma, in the workplace, whether it's me personally, or whether it is inmates, and you're not hearing my cry. So I'm just here by myself. So all of those things can play out, on a daily basis. You also have other coworkers who may not necessarily be on the up and up, and about it, but you've already told your supervisor there's no way for you to move, and you can't even move from that department with that coworker. So again, there's all these different secrets that are told, and all the stress, and it wouldn't surprise me that this is not happening even more often, which is very difficult to admit or tell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is crazy. This is crazy. Shantice, we just got finished talking about this thing.
I just said last week, these undercover mental health people, only to turn around this week and hear this. It's sad. It's not surprising, but it's sad. And it's, it's like no one cares to do anything about it. We understand that this is a high stressful job because of what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with. But nothing is going to be put into place at all to help to prevent this, to prevent the long hours, to prevent the strain while you're there, to prevent. It's like, oh, okay, well, there goes another one. Oh, okay, well, there goes another one. That's how it seems like it's coming across. And I don't know. It's like, what is it going to take for y'all? Is it going to take for someone to have to bust up in the warden's office and shoot it up before something happens? Before there's some type of call to action? Like, I don't understand. No one thinks to sit with these COs periodically, whether you do it once a month, once every 2 months, and evaluate them, give them a chance to talk. You don't know what they're dealing with on the outside. And then now they come in here and they're locked in here for how many hours? And of course, you take the job, even no one forces you. At the same time, if everyone did their due diligence, we would have way less news outlets like this.
I want y'all to think about, and Tamika's a little older than Shantice. Back in the day, they were running for these CO positions.
Mm-hmm.
They were going on the job, and they were, I'm doing all this overtime, and this was a novelty to them. They doing all this overtime, and they bragged about being COs, and I don't know if y'all remember this, but this was very this was the thing to do. And here we are. They were doing this for money, and they clocking all these hours, and they doing all this overtime. Now overtime is not an option. Now clocking all these hours and making all these dollars, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. And to hear that this is now fact, that's the first thing that my mind goes to. I clearly remember this being like the big thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to get up in Rikers, and you wanted to get up in the prison system, and only for it to destroy you, only for it to be a destructive job to have. Now they're saying that this is the highest level of burnout and depression and PTSD and suicide above any other profession, and they're going behind these, these walls, and they don't have the personnel, they don't have, the peace that they thought. I remember Pastor Jeff talking about he used to go to sleep. Remember, he said that? He was like, yeah, I used to go right to sleep. I ain't no sleeping no more. Oh, Miss Grace says, I worked on site for 3 years and a lot of COs came through there. Yeah. Yeah. This was the thing to do. I'm telling y'all. And now to hear all of this stuff going on, that, they're reporting a level of depression, and, you gotta find a job that you're seeking more than money.
Mm-hmm.
You can flex, and it means more to you than just long hours, overtime, money. And not everybody does it for that reason. We know that. But when I hear this report, it's really sad, because you can't undo this stuff unless you truly give your life to the Lord, and He undoes. This is not something you can do on your own. This is something that really, you're going to have to really, 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 can you imagine stepping out of this? Or like the cops' wives, you got a wife at home, and, they're worried about you, and you may not come home, or when you come home, the mental condition you'll be in, and that's a lot to be concerned with.
Here's the other thing also, that they're not telling you, you only know if you're a family member of a correctional officer, is that with all the new changes that are transpiring, they're now making it, back in our day, you did about 20 years and you were good. Well, they're making it more difficult for you to get out. So I got this job, I'm stressed out, I bring home all these troubles that I can't even tell my wife or family about, and I can't leave.
Wow.
Not surprising.
Wow. Boy, they really know how to tear your life up.
Yep.
We got to really be careful of what we volunteer for. We really have to be careful, because, like you said, Lady Tamika, we have no idea, what ultimately happens and what they're experiencing. And they have to go through all of this stuff and endure it, and they have no outlet, really, to get all of this stuff out. So, big prayers for them. All right, we're back to this form. Okay. Tammin says, this job is the real meaning of the saying, they're working you to death. Really means it's said that job is not for the weak. You're absolutely right, Terrence. You're absolutely right. Not for the weak. You got to go in there with something.
Yeah. And the trainings and refreshings, I'm sorry, that they go through, all of a sudden you go to work thinking that everything's good. You get the, what is that spray that burns your eyes? It's got capsaicin.
Oh, yeah, it's a pepper spray.
You got pepper spray training, what to do if somebody throws urine on you, all kinds, how to react if somebody breaks out at a fight suddenly, just those type of things that in themselves is enough to, kind of make you go a little,
Wow. That's a lot. It's a lot. Unfortunately, we're back at the recall on the baby formula. I don't know if you all remember back during the pandemic, there was that constant recall on baby formula. Well, we're back here now, and they're talking about botulism, and this Infant botulism, I'm going to read it. Infant botulism is rare, but if your baby may have been exposed and you notice any of these signs, call the doctor immediately. That's constipation, poor feeding, sluggish pupils, droopy eyelids, low muscle tone, difficulty sucking and swallowing, weak cry, trouble breathing or respiratory distress, general weakness. So now we're back to this recall. We don't know, what is how these things are being processed. Shantice.
It's like just breastfeed. I know it's not always the most convenient, but I think Pastor Steph, you just said the best word that should sound alarms: processed. The stuff that gets grinded up and sitting somewhere until it's packaged and shipped over to whatever store, and then you buy it off the shelves. You don't really know what that stuff is when you're putting it in your brand new baby. Your brand new baby. We're not even talking about a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, which is still very little. Nothing is fully developed yet, but your fresh out baby. Breastfeed. Whether you pump and then put that in the bottle, or whether you breastfeed directly, because I'm trying to like envision myself a brand new mother looking at this brand new little itty bitty body, and now finding out what I just gave you to drink is being recalled or something. It's like, now you are not able to tell me anything. So now I'm stressing because every 30 seconds, every 10 seconds, I'm staring at your pupils. I'm telling the baby, look at his or her pupils. Trying to listen out for your cries to see if it sounds different. I can't necessarily tell all the time if it sounds different because you're brand new to me. So I'm still trying to get used to the cry. This is too much. Just forget all of that and just pump and breastfeed.
Okay. Lady Tamika.
My heart goes out to someone who, has to go through this, because, not every woman can breastfeed. There are times when, for whatever reason, her body makes it difficult for her to breastfeed, for her to nurse, and so that may be her only recourse. I remember my sister had issues. She was not able to nurse properly. And they gave her, my nephew started out with just a little bit of formula. We had to find other ways, and to find out that that's my only means, other than when we were talking about the pandemic, when you were getting other breast milk from other people, just that whole idea, all of that, this is this brand new thing, this brand new baby, this brand new life. And I either have to go from formula that's dangerous to your life or someone else's breast milk, which I just, the whole idea for me is just a no, find what other way, and at this point, it's either formula or breast milk, someone else's, and that's a very difficult place to put a mom, a brand new mom, at that, and that's when we need big mamas. Big mamas, they always got an answer for everything, what would you do, and it just goes to show you how the times are changing in such a vast way that, what do you do at that point?
Absolutely. Terrence says, with all this baby formula thing going on, it feels like mothers have to be nurses or doctors. But why now is all this stuff messing up? What's changed? Again, the processing, the source of where all of these different components come from, how all these things are being maintained. We just got finished talking, was it Monday, about the Costco recalls, and all the returns rather. And you think about why would milk be spoiled within minutes or days of you getting it home regardless of the date. And that's because it hasn't been stored properly. And this is probably what's going on now. They're not storing these things properly. You don't know where these things are coming from. And nursing is not always an option. And that is a big thing. And you have to rely on formula. I remember my mother saying to me, she was like, Stephanie, all we gave y'all was pat milk. Now, for those of you who don't know, pat milk is just evaporated milk out the can. Plain old evaporated milk out of the can. And she said, and y'all were fine.
Nasty.
Yeah. When you drink it, it's like, ooh, you gotta put it in something, or can't just drink that straight out the can. But she said that's what they gave us, and she said, and y'all were fine. Yeah, all this baby formula and all that. She said all the people wasn't breastfeeding, and we were fine. But over the years, again, how they maintain these things and the combinations, and FDA is not really doing their job in ensuring that all of the components have been well maintained and things like that. Listen, anytime you tell us that rat hairs and bugs are in food, but it's a safe amount to leave in there, and this is FDA, that there's a safe amount to leave in there. Well, I guess we ain't died yet, so oh well. This is something that is to be concerned about. Not only that, think about the way the babies are being born now. We have never had more cases of allergies and all these kind of things. So you're talking about this food or this formula and the baby's body. So we don't have any idea as to what the combination is and how the combination will actually mix. So it's a lot to be concerned with. But again, look it up yourself, figure it out, because there is an answer. But we just, again, prayer. You got to pray over everything, because we don't know. We have no idea. All right. We have a government shutdown update that they've gotten to a 60-40 split. That people are going to get paid again. The SNAP benefits are safe for now. All of this for a deadline of January of 2026. Well, what is going on? Let me see before we start. Terrence got a couple of comments. He says, because we're killing all the animals that we've been getting our milk and everything from, instead of trying to make artificial animals from the lab. So are you saying that that's the answer, to make artificial animals, or because we're making artificial animals? So I just want to make sure I understand. Terry says, all we need to know are these scientists, and everybody needs to stop playing God. That's what's killing us. Okay, so then I got my answer. Yeah, we don't know what they're doing. Again, like Shanti said, I use the word processing, and that's the key component. Processing. We don't know what's happening on any point. All right, Tamika. January 2026 is closer than around the corner, as Vivian said. And this is as far as we've gotten.
Yeah, so we're going to sit this on the table for a couple of weeks, really, honestly. We're in the mid-November. We got a month. So you're going to allow people to go home, enjoy their holiday, travel, whatever it is that they want to do, only to turn around and come back at the beginning of the year and revisit the same thing. And for how long? We don't know. This thing has been affecting people. So you're going to put it on the table again for people to do whatever, however it is that they celebrate this season, and that might be it. Okay, fine. We're going to shut down. We're not going to shut down now, but we're going to shut down right around the corner. So how can I even think to relax when I know that it's still on the table?
Yep. Yep. Big time. Shantice, January 2026.
All right, so you gave everyone a pacifier for right now until, as it's been said, in about 3 days, you're faced with this all over again. What was the pacifier for? Were you trying to trying to get people through the holidays because you knew it was one thing to cancel something like SNAP benefits for the norm, but then SNAP benefits around the holidays? Are you crazy? You really trying to cause an uprising in every community. Okay, so I believe that's what happened. Let us give them this pacifier now so that we don't have to deal with the backlash of riots and burglaries and people just smacking the checkout person, walking out with the turkey and all that. Like that's what y'all say y'all were gonna do. And then come January, we'll get back to the regularly scheduled program of what our plan was. It's cutting this out and cutting that out and cutting. It's like, but why? Why? Like, what are we doing? So you don't think you're gonna catch any or as much? You may end up catching more because now it's like you try to play us. So now I'm slow. So now I'm a baby. Oh, let's just give you the little pacifier and you should be good with that. And unfortunately, again, like I said last week, could we really be mad that they treat us like that? Because that's what we show. We showed as long as you give us something, we'll shut up for a little bit. This may happen, but you give us this, we'll shut up. Or this may happen, we'll make a little noise, and then that's it until something else happens. So we really get upset that, you know what I'm saying, that they would really know. We have to rise as people, and we have to show that when we say we know and feel we deserve, we're not going to settle until we get that, and not settle for the scraps that you throw us. And then maybe they'll stop doing silly things like this. So this made no sense.
Yeah, I agree with the word pacifier. And I think I have to agree. They're getting us through this end of the year thing. I think they've considered the possibilities of how people will respond and react to this shutdown and no SNAP benefits. And they don't want this for the end of the year. They don't want this. And they are doing whatever they need to do to shut everybody up. They are not taking care of some of the primary concerns, such as the health care. And we don't know what we're facing. Think about it this way. It'll be 1 year if this goes down, God spares our life, that Trump has been in office. Look at all that has happened, all the chaos, all the calamity in 1 year. And this here is calculated. It's calculated. Terrence says the crazy part, Tamika, is people can't even travel now. Anyway, they're canceling a lot of flights due to the air traffic controllers. We don't have enough. This is a sad time for us. Trump knows what he's doing. I agree 100%. I'm going to tell you something else. Do you know how much money they make in travel? You are going to shut down. This is the heaviest traveling season of the year.
Absolutely.
They're not shutting this down now. They want those employees back in place. They want the travelers back in place so they can make their money. And then as of the top of the year, we're back to business as usual, where they don't care. Right now, all of this is a calculated move for them. This is benefiting them. There's nothing to do with the people. So I
Right.
agree 100%. Terrence, Trump knows what he's doing. The government knows, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. All right, for the wow story. A 9-day-old baby rushed to the hospital. The trauma that they said this baby had after they claimed the baby fell out the stroller,
Hmm.
burns on the bottom of his feet, cuts on face, broken ribs, blunt force
Hmm.
trauma. 9 days old. Grandpa says when they were in the hospital, I told them they were not good parents, that this baby was in danger, and nobody ignored it. Nobody paid me any attention. Everybody ignored me. Only for this to happen 9 days later. Not even 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks. As Terrence says, they were all wild stories. Thanks, Vivian, for keeping us on our toes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. From Terrence. Oh, Shantice. Now, here's the thing. They worked out a plea deal.
Why?
How?
What does it even mean? So we got how, we got why, and we got what does that even mean? A plea deal when you see this? 10 years for mom and 19 years for dad on a 9-day-old baby. Tamika? Shantice, who got first leg on this one? I don't know.
I think you called me.
All right. Yes, I did. Shantice.
I just saw a video yesterday of, I don't even think the babies made it out the hospital, which was very disturbing and ignorant to me. They showed a video of, I guess it was the nurse piercing an infant's ear. And I'm like, why? The way the baby was crying made me, I was like, Lord, I know the concept years ago was, let me get the baby's ears pierced now because they're not as aware of like what's about to happen. So, versus if you take your toddler or your adolescent, it's like now you probably fighting with them because they see a needle or the piercing gun. But I was like, I really don't think, I'm not piercing my baby's ears. That's not happening. That especially after watching that, so now to hear burns on the bottom of a fresh baby's feet, cuts, broken ribs, we didn't even have ribs yet. It's like, what? It's like they don't even like, you see the body parts, but these are not real body parts yet. Like nothing is fully developed. Like what? And then looking at the picture, she don't even look like she took care of her baby dolls properly. Like what happened? Whoever the grandfather told this to needs to get arrested. They need to start locking these people up, because there is no way you enforce, if you know something, say something. If you see something, say something. And I'm saying something and everyone looking at me like I'm on drugs. But you just let them walk up out the hospital with this brand new life, and now this brand new life is right back up here in the hospital and you're pronouncing the life dead after you just filled out the birth certificate. Now there's immediately a death certificate. Whoever he told, he needs to be able to say, I told that nurse or that doctor or that security guard or that so-and-so, and they need to be held accountable for that as well. Why? Maybe I missed it. Why one parent got one sentence and another parent got another sentence. They didn't mention. Okay. She didn't look like she does dog cruelty, like animal cruelty. She don't look like she take care of nothing, let alone her body or a baby. That is just like what a sick mind to look at something that's so helpless and just what did you do? How did you burn the bottom of the feet? What did you cut the face with? Like why? You would have did better killing yourself and letting them find the baby in there crying. As crazy as that is. But you're gonna bring up baby. So you went through the 9 months labor and then to do this. That's horrible.
Lady Tamika.
Well, it's clear and evident. Everybody in the room knows that they didn't want that baby to begin with. Is this one of those situations where mom said you're gonna have this baby, as opposed to getting an abortion? And so this is their retribution. And the type of things that, y'all all know that I'm an advocate for the children and for the babies, but my gosh, burning this baby's feet, cutting his face, ribs, like, what did you, football practice? And then you tried to save yourself by saying we were jogging. Who jogs with a brand new baby? 9 years. So 9 days old. You had this baby, let's just say on Sunday. That week after, and then the following Tuesday, this is what we find. I mean, you didn't even have time to really take care of the baby, to get that bond that mom and baby had. None of that, because you didn't want this baby to begin with. And I guess any time that you could, you tried something to hurt this baby. What, you lit a match, not a match, a lighter, and burn the baby's feet. Did you put the baby on the stove? Like, what in the world? Trauma for this baby to have had to endure. And grandpa already told you, don't send that baby home. I guarantee you he didn't say it like, real quiet. He said it to somebody with all his heart. The thing that you do, if you send this baby home, it's going to be a problem for this baby. And whoever he told, I guarantee he told more than one person. And then at this point, he's like, well, what else can I do? You think about the other thing now, the way that the system has transitioned, grandparents don't have the authorities that they used to. I can say whatever it is that I want to say. But as a grandparent, my hands are tied. I'm telling you, as she's giving birth to this baby, I guarantee while she was giving birth, listen, let me tell y'all, this is the worst thing that you could do. And they disregarded. And now this is the end result. And I'm even surprised with the time frame that they give it. 10 and 19 years. Y'all practically killed this baby.
They did.
And the baby's dead, right?
Murdered the baby.
Baby's gone.
10 and 19 years is clearly not enough. And here we go back to that whole idea of they're not mature enough. Who do you have compassion for, the baby or the parent?
All right, let me read some of these comments before I talk. Terrence says they knew by looking at them that they're not the fit parents. Plus, they look like brothers and sister. He says they look like drug dealers, or he just belongs in the streets. Just by looking at them pisses me off. We got a check in from Miss Charlene. Good morning, Miss Charlene. Sir says, I agree with Shantice that whoever the grandfather showed concern to should go to jail and face the penalty because they are part of what happened to that baby. Al, chop of the morning. Big Bertha will get her. Thank you, Al. Always can rely on Al to remind us that there is a Big Bertha and a Big Bubba that they're going to have to meet when they get in the jail system. Here's my question. I had to ask Vivian. Grandpa said this in the hospital when the baby was born. What did y'all do that indicated to Grandpa when the baby was born that you were unfit? How do you show that so quickly? And Grandpa has caught it so quickly. And now the the child is dead. We got to check it from Kyra. Good morning, Kyra. Thank you for joining us this morning. Grandpa said this when the child was born. Did Grandpa see her rip the head off of a doll? Did Grandpa see her throw the doll up against the wall? Did Grandpa see her punching her stomach? What did Grandpa see at birth that indicated, y'all better not send that baby home? Y'all better not send that baby home. They mistreating that baby. What could you have done so early in this child's birth that Grandpa picked up on this so quickly, to the degree that he aired that to the personnel in the hospital? And knowing that Grandpa was Grandpa, how come you didn't pay attention to this and do something? Even if you held the baby just to make sure, just to give her a psych evaluation, just to give him a psych evaluation. Nothing. When you think about 9 days old, the first thing I said to myself was what you said, Lady Tamika. They didn't want this child. That's too early for abuse for you to want something. That means that from the beginning, when you found out that you were pregnant, you were unhappy.
Absolutely.
And here's the law that says no abortions. Now, I'm not saying go kill babies. So please, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, this is what we get in a wicked world. This is what we get on a wicked world, in a wicked world. That these people are getting pregnant. These people are making babies. They don't want them, and there are no options. And now this poor baby is dead. I can't imagine why Grandpa said, what did they do? From the moment the child was born, Grandpa picked up. This is Grandpa who's been watching this child. Somebody then left her in Grandpa's care. He knows her. He knows her well. He knows her well. She didn't get along with a sister or brother, something, cousin, something. Help Grandpa make him aware that she was not going to be a fit parent. She had done something. And for them to, how, why, and what does that mean? I just keep going back to that. What is a plea deal on something like this? Our justice system needs to go to jail.
That, and you should be all about that life if you did this to another human. Right. 9 days, 9 seconds old, 9 minutes old. This is still another human. So you should be all about that jail life, sir and ma'am. So I'm supposed, like I think what Lady Tamika said. So who is the sympathy for?
Right.
I'm supposed to care about if you, again, like the one with the hair yesterday. I'm supposed to care about what you now want and consider this for you and consider that for you. And yet you did this. This was still a human person. This was a person.
I'm sorry. The justice system needs to be under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a travesty. This baby got no justice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like it's not one of those situations where it's a shaken baby incident. Usually shaken baby is because the baby was crying and you couldn't take it.
Right.
They literally ups the baby, that type of thing. Like all kinds of cracked ribs.
Yeah. Imagine the pain this child endured. We got to check it from Akusa. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And Brother Al says this system is the worst, which is absolutely correct. I can't even imagine being the judge on the bench who says, okay, now that you've taken a plea deal,
let me give you extra time. Me even requesting that.
No. No. This is sad. This is sad. And I don't know what we're going to do. All around the system, and I don't care what part of the system we're talking about, the system has failed everybody. It's really failed everybody. And if this doesn't indicate that you need to give your life to God, I don't know what else does. Al says they should change the name from justice system to the whatever system. It's true, because it doesn't matter what happens. There's no justice. Oh, thank you, ladies, for going over our socially conscious segment. I got a question. So we talked about the baby formula not being satisfactory and causing our babies harm and things like this. So the other option is breastfeeding. We went to an event the other day, and it was quite crowded, and we were all at tables. Table where this woman was, this baby had to be about 18 months. Had to be easily about 18 months, definitely more than a year old. She pulled out her breast at the table, and can I tell y'all that it wasn't no little itty bitty breast either. She pulled out her breast at the table, and there we conducted our business. Now there was a lobby outside, because this was the reception hall. This was a hall. So it was plenty. You could have gone outside. You could have taken care of the business. But right there, in front of everybody, didn't matter we were eating. Didn't matter men and women. Young or old, black or white. Didn't matter. We just whipped out our breast and we commenced to breastfeed. And I thought I saw what I was looking at. And Shanti said to me, "Ma." Now it was funny because just when I went last week to the eye doctor, shut up, Al, because it was a boy.
Yep. Yep.
It was a boy. There was a woman on the street sitting in a chair. Somebody help me. I'm sorry. I understand the process. I have 3 children. I understand the process. I've become of age. I understand the process. Oh, but years ago, and I mean, women used to put a little something over, a little blanket, or they don't even do that anymore. I'm like, well, why? Why does this become a public thing to do? I don't know. Maybe it's just Stephanie. I'll take that into consideration. But I'm just asking before I comment any further. Tamika, help me. Help me understand why I'm subjected.
Well, it's not just you. I was at a high school event. This was last summer, a high school event. So you got all kinds of teens and, and I'm looking at this woman again, just like you. The baby was old enough to say, "Mom, I want Nunu." And so when I didn't at first I didn't see the baby because she had the cover. She had the little, okay, fine, great. And then it fell off. And I'm looking at this great big grown child that got sneakers, can get up and walk on his own. And I said to the lady who was with me, I was like, is that a grown child? That's a grown man. Like, what is going on here? You know? And again, you're in a school. So you could go to the women's bathroom. You could go to a teacher's room. You know, they got teachers' offices, those type of things. And they also have teachers' bathrooms where you can lock the door. You know, you don't have to be around people. You know, it's this whole mentality of I'm gonna do me wherever I want to be. You know, it's that whole, we have given into self in so many different ways. And even this is, you know, there's no, I mean, she didn't even, you're like, okay, so you're doing the baby and all of a sudden the thing fall off. What do I see? Like, this is a high school lady. And you know that teens have no problem, you know, they walking by looking, you know, some of them are like this and some of them are like outright flipping. You know, but you don't have no shame, no nothing. And I think that we have appeased people too much and we keep doing it, you know, and there's a danger in giving too much leave. You know, there are rooms for changing stations, those type of things. People, you know, just don't care. And that's sad. That's really sad.
Shantice?
I was more upset at the people at the table.
Yep.
This is why we will never rise as the people. There were at least 7 other people sitting at that table.
Yeah. The table was full, and the table sat 12.
And
I
I know they saw it because we were about 3 tables over and we saw it. So there's no way she's facing you and you have to look in her direction to see who's speaking and to see what's going on. It's not like she was sitting to your left and you have to look this way. You have to literally look past her. Her back is towards the action.
Yep. Her
back was facing the action. This is the epitome of tacky. Like her picture, her body, this one I gotta pray and ask God to check my thoughts. So I'm like, Miss Ma'am, already your body is not appealing. Why are you attracting more attention to yourself? You already look crazy in your outfit. Now you attracting even more attention. So this really just goes to show the type of person that you are, that you're a tacky person is tacky in all their ways. And across your life, you just tacky. Because there's no way you're an upstanding citizen. You're classy in every other arena and situation, but yet you're sitting in front of, I don't care where you were, there, Applebee's, a baseball game, sanitation spot, wherever, and you're doing this. And then on top of that, this child is old enough to get table food. So now I'm confused.
Yes.
I'm like so lost. I'm like, okay, Jesus, now I haven't been privileged yet to push out my own, but I done been around some that were fresh out. I done watched them become grown people. What is the point in me whipping anything out and yet I'm gonna still be able to bite a piece of chicken and give it to you? Why? Then you don't need this, in my opinion. You don't need this. If I can now give you something to chew, that's just me. I don't know. That was just my, so it was so disturbing on so many different levels for me personally. And I'm with Brother Al. I really had to like internally talk to God about the pettiness and remember that God gave us a switch to the lady that said, do not be petty. Because I so bad wanted to like bring attention. Oh my God. It's like, it was making my eye twitch how bad I wanted to bring attention to that table. Like, what could I do? Could I fling something over there and they say, oh, I'm so sorry. Are y'all okay? Like something. Because this is just disgust. It's just like, it's not even funny. There was nothing funny about it. And I'm like, maybe I'm just becoming so much more like, sensitive isn't the word, but just like, it's becoming more of an eyesore when I see certain things, especially from women. It's like when men are tacky, it's annoying. When women are tacky, it is just pitiful. It is just like, come on, y'all. Come on. We can do better than this. And I'm pretty sure one of those women sitting at that table was her mother. I'm almost guaranteed one of them was her, because she would look like one of the youngest ones sitting at that table.
And she was the younger one.
Yeah, she was one of the, and I'm just like, so no, this is why, and God knows how she's breeding that baby to be. If y'all bred her to be like this, because there's no way I could have been sitting at a table with anybody I know and did that, and they ain't cuss me out. So you got to be real careful about when you don't want people challenging you in life, because this is what you end up becoming. It was horrible. It was horrible.
We got to check in from Majesty. Hey, Majesty. Al says, I notice it's always a little boy shaking my head. Mama, stop. So let me just say this as a disclaimer. I have no problem with you being out, and breastfeeding is the process that you're using to feed your child. I have no problem with that. That to each his own, whatever. And we have to take care of our business. And I've seen babies pulling at mom, because they ready, and mom, is like, stop, whatever. I get it. I get it. Like I said, I raised 3. I get it. We have to be tactful, ladies. I'm sorry. We have to be tactful. We cannot. In my personal opinion, I felt disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak for anyone else. I personally felt disrespected. Had that been, I don't know if her mom was at the table more than older, like maybe an aunt, or like an older aunt or something like that. There were some relatives at the table just from conversation. Had it been someone at the table that I knew, Tamika, if I had to whisper over in your ear, girl, you need my coat. Let's go. Can we go outside? This is not the place for that. Not at the table. God, my God. Oh my God. Everything is, we cannot do everything everywhere. We just can't. We just can't. And here's my problem. I don't know what as Shanti said, it was just, in my opinion, just disturbing on quite a few levels. Okay, so if she herself, if the baby, let's say for argument's sake, the baby was tugging. I've seen this happen quite often. You wouldn't even know the woman was breastfeeding, but because the baby's tugging, that's the indication that, oh, she must be a breastfeeding mother. Get up. Get up. Get up. They had a beautiful sized bathroom. Get up. Like I said, because this was during the reception time, the foyer area was empty, which had several chairs, and not only just chairs, but like a couch, like a couple of couch chairs where she could have been comfortable. In addition to that, there was a room that they were using to change. So she could have, and when they opened the door, I didn't even realize that was a room that they were using, but I just happened to be going out past the room, and someone opened the door, and there was someone in there who was eating. I don't know why they were eating in the room. Maybe they're the type of people who don't like to eat in public. But so if she didn't like to eat in public and she was eating in the room, you mean to tell me you couldn't have breastfed in the room? So that's one of the problems that I had. It's the second problem that I had. You sitting at the table with her, and you as an older person, no one went over to her and whispered in her ear and said, listen, there's a room outside. There's chairs outside. Let me give you my coat. Because there were a lot of jackets because it was cold. This is wintertime, it's cold. Or chilly time, it's cold. So you could have give up your jacket, your coat, give up your skirt, for God's sake. Something.
You already gave up your mind.
Okay, and help her. Help her. If she didn't consider this, I would have had to let you know. If you were sitting at a table with me, You wasn't whipping that out in front of me. I'm sorry. I wouldn't even care if it was my grandchild. No. Especially if it was my grandchild. I'd be like, have you lost your mind? Not only that, I'm going to tell you something else. as to me, you don't prepare for these things.
Oh my gosh, Pastor Steph, I was just sitting here thinking that. Again.
You don't prepare for this. You don't pump.
Yes.
You don't pump. And if you don't pump, in my opinion, you don't, when I go to a place, I'm scoping it out. First thing I'm doing, if I know I'm going to need to breastfeed because we're going to be there for so many hours and I don't pump and baby don't take no bottle, because to give that baby a bottle would have looked just as crazy, because now he a little man walking around with a bottle, that would have looked crazy. But you don't scope the place out. In other words, what I'm saying is, I know I breastfeed. When I go in a place, I'm already looking around for places that I could possibly go in the event where, if I need to or when I need to. I'm already scoping this out. Why am I waiting until the last minute when I need to breastfeed to figure out there's no private places? So now, and like I said, it wasn't no small breast either. I could not believe. I said, no, this can't be going on at a table where everybody is there. And like Shati said, the way where she was sitting was, excuse me, she had her back turned to all the festivities of the floor. So you didn't even come in the place and go in a table to a table that was in a corner, because we were not assigned to a table. It wasn't like you have to sit at table 10, table 9, table 2. No, she could have sat anywhere she wanted to sit. So that's what I'm saying about getting there earlier and scoping the place out. Or if you were running late and you got in there, find a corner. Why is this just, to me, the Bible says we become lovers of ourselves. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what has happened. We don't care about anyone else. This is a personal thing. This is what I do. I have a right. I'm not considering anyone else. And I thought it was so disrespectful. I think this was something that could have been prevented. And in my opinion, when things can be prevented, what are we teaching? What are the older women teaching the younger women?
Nothing.
That's biblical, people. Do you realize?
It's just like, okay, so we're going to take a totally different topic. I know I'm one of those people. Everywhere I go, I got to go to the bathroom. I don't care where we are. We go to the movies. So this is something that I know about me. First thing that I start doing is looking for a bathroom. Where's the bathroom? You do the same thing with that. You know that you're going to feed this baby. You know that somewhere within that time frame, baby's going to want something. You got this baby with you. So you start looking for places. Okay, where's the bathroom? Okay, if I can't go to the bathroom, I don't want to sit on the toilet. Is there another room? And even if you can't see it, in a place like that, you can ask somebody, listen, I'm nursing. Is there a place that I can go? You do your due diligence. Yes. Even if you showed up late, before you sat down at that table, there's an usher, somebody. Can you tell me where I can go?
Yes. Yes.
And, even in the setting that I was in, like I said, we were at a high school and they were giving out brochures and things like that for individuals that want to go transition from one school to another. She was in the area where you're giving out flyers, where these students have to come past you. And I even said to her, Miss, do you want, I said to her myself, can I give you, I have a jacket here. I have, I always carry a sweater, a jacket, something with me. So I said to her, would you be offended if I put, and she was like, yes. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and you work here. So this is not something that you've done once. You do this on a regular.
Oh, wait a minute, that was an employee?
That was an employee, it was a teacher.
So you pulling your breasts out in front of your students in the climate of these teachers having intercourse with these, in addition to being improper in general. In the high climate of these teachers getting snagged for engaging with these students on that level, why is that okay? So nobody's teaching these kids nothing. Nobody's teaching nobody anything.
Right. And the area that we live in now, all of the obscene, the crazy, the whatever, we excuse that. And the stuff that should be.
Wow. This was a teacher. You know, this is, Al hit the nail on the head, and that's what I'm saying. Do it with respect. And he's right. A child that size is not going to be fine off of just breast milk.
That's why he needed the chicken too.
Right. You're gonna have to supplement. Like I said, I don't have a problem with how long you breastfeed. Somebody told me they breastfed their kid till they was 5. I'm sorry, that ain't happening. But to each his own. Stephanie. That's not happening for Stephanie. But that to each his own. To each his own. You get ready to go to school and I'm breastfeeding you? No.
And she handed out brochures. So you got the baby here with no cover. Here's the thing, no cover, and you handing out brochures.
At the same time?
Yes.
Oh, girl, you making this up.
No, you can't make these stories up.
So the principal needs to get arrested too. Who's allowing her to work while breastfeeding?
And the principal was standing behind us. Because I met her.
We don't know if there wasn't a reprimand later. We don't know. Because I'm going to be honest. There would be a reprimand. Because you may not have been able to snatch him off her breast. But there would be a reprimand. Again, I agree with you, Tamika. There's no preparation. You know that you know. The kid says, I don't care. I don't know. Teachers have been engaging with students since the beginning of time, but as a breastfeeding mother, I understand baby needs to eat, and when I cover up mine, she doesn't want to be covered. But why are we not in private? If the baby doesn't want to be covered, that's understandable. Nobody's saying we don't understand these things. But why isn't this in private? Why isn't this, especially if you have a baby that doesn't like to be covered? Because maybe I don't want something over my head and I can't breathe. I don't know. But I just don't understand why everybody has to be subjected. Not only that, she's working. So why not ask for a break?
Can somebody walk my spot? Right.
Why not ask and say, listen, you know what? I didn't expect the baby wants to eat now. That's listen, again, like I said, I've seen babies tugging. So I understand you may not be able to predict when that's going to happen, but just ask someone, listen, can you just give me a minute? I'll be back. Gotta go take care of my business. But this can't be done. You got the breast here and papers here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't even imagine the school system approving. Like Shanti said, the climate we're in, where all of these teachers are now engaging with these students. We can't control what the students feel, what the students think. So we have to prepare for us not being half naked in front of the students. That's not acceptable. So now you got crazy students looking at your breasts. I want to show my breast to a student? No, I'm sorry. That can't be. That cannot be. That cannot be acceptable in the school system. Not for an after school. And then we're talking about something that's not even going on during school hours. So now you've got all of this going on after school hours that has to be optional. So in other words, what I'm saying is if you can't, if this has to be a stretched, let's say overtime, then when the baby wanted to eat or when it was time to feed the baby and yet it was still time for you to engage with the students, then you can't do both. So here's what this says to me as well. that during school hours, this could happen. That this could happen. And it has to be, you're not going to tell me that there's not something written that says, okay, well, you know what, for moms who breastfeed and it's after hours, blah, 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 blah. You're not going to tell me that the school system is not preparing for this either? No, it can't be. Not the way school, not the way we're going through these kids now. No. And like Alice saying, like Tamika saying, you work here. You know all the pits of where you could go. Go in your classroom. Go in the teacher's lounge. Go in the security area. Good morning. Good morning. Is that Lily? Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So we have a lot of dynamics. It is not that anyone does not understand the dynamics of having to feed your baby if you breastfeed. But I personally believe that you need to prepare for that so that everybody is not subjected to what you're doing. And I'm gonna be honest. If I raised 3 kids, I don't think I want to breastfeed in front of everybody. I don't think I want that to be an option for me. I think if that's what I'm doing, I think I want it to be on the private side. I don't think I want to do that in front of everybody. Nakia says another teacher. Well, first of all, good morning, Nakia. Good morning. Good morning. We didn't say good morning. Another teacher should step in so she can go in a classroom alone and feed. If she's getting paid, she's on the clock. It's against the law to not have a place for a woman to breastfeed. And that's what we're saying. We're in complete agreement with you. Another teacher shouldn't have to come up to her and say, hey, Mary, it's okay. It's okay. Good morning. It's not for Tamika to come to Stephanie and say, girl, is it time for you to go? Come on, I'll switch places with you.
Right.
You know this. You, especially on her job. And I know you, and you speak truth, Nakia, because as an HR manager, you have to give time for that. You do. If this is what's going on, not only that, because children ain't got no business on the job. So let's just get that. Let me just Let me tell you that I spent 20 years doing this in that area alone. You have no business with your child if you're working. Forget about the law of allowing you an area to breastfeed. If that's not it. So we're integrating 2 laws. The law is if you're employed, your child ain't got no business on the job. I can't employ you and you bring your child on the job and I'm going to pay you because either you're working or you're not. But we must give you time to breastfeed. Pump. If you need to pump, there are certain women who can only pump at certain times. That's what we were told. We were given information on this, that medically certain women can only pump during certain times. Because and they always cite arguments. Whenever they pass certain laws, what they do is they give you like instances to kind of push why it's coming through. So clearly what happened was the management said, why can't you pump during break time or lunchtime? And she said, because I couldn't at the time. My breasts weren't ready. So they enacted a law that said that we had to give them time to breastfeed. But here's the key. They had to swap. So in other words, at the job, we got a morning break and an afternoon break for 15 minutes. We got a 45-minute lunch period. If you took your 45-minute break already or your lunch period, and then you needed to breastfeed, that you was going to lose something. So if you knew that your breastfeeding time was off the times of the breaks, because we had designated breaks. So in other words, we didn't have accounting go to break at this time, sales go to break it down. No, at 8:45 every morning, it was 15-minute break. At 2 something every day, it was a 15-minute break. And then you had lunch time. So you couldn't take your break and then go breastfeed. You would have to take your don't take your break, and your breastfeeding was substituted with your breastfeeding time, your pumping time. Like you said, breastfeeding, your pumping time. So that's the law. The law is not, we have to give you time to breastfeed your baby. Because if you breastfeeding your baby, you ain't working. Because you, unlike this woman who was breastfeeding on the left and handing out tracts or pamphlets or papers on the right, that's illegal. A lot of people don't understand the legalities of federal and city and state law. There's things you can't integrate. We cannot make you work if the job has called for breaks. I can't make you work through your break if the rest of the building is on break, unless there's some extreme circumstance, because now that's showing all kinds of problems. So yes, there is a law that says that you need a place for her to be. The bathroom was the place. We had a little section in the bathroom with a couch, and that's where she would go. She could not sit at her desk and pump. She couldn't go in the sales department and pump. She had to go in a designated place. All of this stuff is written out. Trust me when I tell you. And we had to then notify all the women. It didn't matter whether you were 93 still on that job. We had to give you that same paper that indicated that the law was passed. We couldn't say, well, Tamika's 93 and ain't nowhere in the world she could even get pregnant. Mary had she had her children already. She passed. But no, everybody has to be notified. All women have to be notified. So yeah, it's technical. It's not as open as we think it is. There are rules, there are laws, but it has to be a consideration for other people who are in the vicinity of, I don't want to eat and I'm looking at your breast. I'm sorry. I love, and anybody that knows Stephanie knows I love people. I ain't advocating for no kids right now. I love people, and I understand that life is life, but we have to be considerate of other people. And there were men there. I don't know. I'm sorry. My thing is, okay, men should understand, but why am I putting on my breast in front of men? I don't know. It's like privacy is not what it used to be anymore. I don't want men looking at me. Ladies, you speak. I don't know. Tamika, do you feel open? If it was a bridal shower of women, we had a whole set of men there.
I don't care what type of it, I'm one of those that, there should be some form of modesty, and I don't care if it was all women, I would put something on top, or, if there's nowhere I can go, at least that, but, and then just, I think about, things that happened in the past when we had family gatherings and that type of thing, and there was a nursing mother in the set of us. She would always find someplace else to go. You're not going, especially, just the whole idea of sitting at a setting and you're eating, you're nursing. So you don't really get the ability to move like you would want to. Right. So wouldn't you want to be in a setting where the baby can be comfortable, where you can be comfortable, and then afterwards, put a napkin on your plate and come back. Nobody's going to tell somebody to your left or your right, especially in that type of setting. Tell your mama, your grandmother, whoever's with you, listen, I'm going to go nurse, the baby, and I'll be back. Put your little napkin on your plate and make sure that nobody takes your food. But, you should not feel comfortable in that type of setting. Me personally, I would get up and move.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. There's a set of men in the room. So KL has spoken. Pastor KL has spoken. He says just nasty. So I'm not gonna even pay attention to that comment. And I'm gonna say why. There's who's in this. There's what's his name? Terrence. There's Al and Pastor KL. We know at least 3 men are in the room. Do me a favor. Please indicate whether you feel comfortable if you're in that setting and this is what you're witnessing. We're speaking as women. And we're speaking as women on one level. I would like to know, being that it was not a closed setting, well, how do you feel? Maybe it didn't matter to you, but just to find out, just to take a little survey here. While they're doing that, so Pastor K, I'm not saying that I'm ignoring it, but I'm just saying maybe that was just you spewing. I would like to know, yay or nay, if that's something that, because there were men sitting at the table, by the way, not just in the room. There were a couple of men at the table. Shantice.
Yes.
What was the question that I asked?
There were men there also. So.
Oh, I was saying,
why would you feel
that in an environment of mixed genders? Yes.
I would if it's a community breast, and that's what it was. The only time you feel that comfortable doing that is when you're used to just showing your body to random people. Because there's no way, again, as it was said, there would be some hesitation for me, even with women there. I couldn't even see myself being at home if me, my mother, and my sisters are sitting in the living room and I just do that uncovered. If it's just the 4 of us and we in the house, I'm not going to go excuse myself and go to another room, but I would definitely cover myself. Now we sitting here and I have a first cousin who we call each other siblings because that's how we were raised. I would definitely cover, myself up. But if he had a friend here, something, even though this is my house, I would have to excuse myself and go to another room. I wouldn't even have the mentality of, well, listen, this is my house. So he knew I got a kid. He would have to assume I'm breastfeeding because that's the mentality of a lot of people. No, but when I'm the type of female who's just used to showing my breast to men, why not pull it out? What's different? That there's a baby attached to the end of it this time instead of another man. I mean, what? that's the mentality. Unfortunately, and again, she's young. She was young, so unfortunately, that's the mindset out here. And that's what I'm saying. When people don't understand how they tell you all about themselves, like we tell people the type of person we are just by doing things like this. Doing things like this lets other people know what we do, because it's like, if you don't mind doing that here with this, then what else don't you mind showing and doing?
All right. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't. I think they're taking a stand on the fact that they are breastfeeding, that breastfeeding is natural, that you should understand that I'm a breastfeeding mother, and I have a right to breastfeed anywhere I see fit. And if I'm comfortable enough with openly breastfeeding, and as Nakia said, some babies don't want to be covered, take that into consideration. I'm going to do it. So that's why I asked you ladies, if it were you, would it make a difference? And for men, would it make a difference? So we have, I guess KL, he's standing on his just nasty. Al says, I would have definitely been uncomfortable. I would have left out of the room. So now we have a guest, a fellow guest, who is eating, who now feels he needs to leave the room because he don't want to sit and watch you breastfeed. We have Lily who says, I feel the same. It's uncomfortable for other parties despite gender. Terrence says, to me, I don't think it would bother me because I've seen things like this on TV and knew about how normal it is. So I guess it's stuck with me. It's normal. So that's what I'm saying. For some people, it wouldn't bother him because he said he saw it on TV. Well, I'm sorry, I'm a woman and I didn't see it live and I don't want to see it live at the table. Just don't want to see it live. So, thank God for people like him. But I wasn't getting up for my food. I'm sorry. Food was already cold. I was mad because the food was cold. And I wasn't getting up from that table to go get up out the room. No. Terrence says, also, I've seen someone breastfeeding on the train, and this was like more than 10 years ago. Yes. Okay, so I have a question, Terrence. When she was breastfeeding, was she covered? Because we all know that for years, when women would breastfeed, they would cover up. So my question is, I'm just curious. Maybe she wasn't. On the train, was she covered or was she open? Help me understand that. I just want to know. I'm going to take my plate with me. Shut up, Al. So I think, again, my personal opinion is we just need to be considerate of everyone. We definitely understand the plight of breastfeeding, whatever your plight may be. So whether your plight is I breastfeed, but my baby don't like to be covered. My plight is I'm out. I don't want to stay in the house. I do want to go out to events, and I do want to take my child with me, and I want to breastfeed. I understand that plight. Nakia says, I disagree. What piece don't you agree with? Do you not agree that everyone in the room, because this is what we're saying, that everyone in the room deserves to be in an open place and not have to watch a woman pull out her breast and feed her baby? I just want to know what you're disagreeing with, because we've said several things. Terrence says, but don't we have new beaches and new dish and new that is Terrence, I'm not going to a new beach. That's a different topic. You only saw the breast that she was using. You didn't see her other chest, but you saw when she pulled it out and the baby was sucking on it, but it wasn't fully out. It was out,
fully
Terrence.
out.
That's
how we knew. Right, we didn't just see the positioning of it.
Right.
We saw the breast out and the positioning of it.
Right. We're not saying we just saw that she was doing it. How you think I was able to tell how big the breast was? Because it was out.
The shade of the breast and everything. We were able to see everything.
That's what, listen, pay attention. We're not saying she was just simply breastfeeding. Everything was out because she wasn't covered. Everything was out. So not only that, keep in mind, it wasn't an infant. So generally with an infant, you kind of hold the baby and you can pull the baby and then cover. He is doing, he's sucking and then looking around and all of this going on. No, I'm sorry.
And there is, I haven't come across many women who are so discreet and classy, but yet I don't mind showing my breasts because I'm breastfeeding. That was just because I saw, and what was more disturbing, I saw when it came out. So it wasn't even just like I just saw that it was out and it was happening. I saw when the dress and the bra got repositioned to come out. So all the like Pastor Steph said, you weren't prepared to do nothing. You weren't prepared to be classy at this event. You didn't even wear something where it would have been an easy pop. There it is. I saw it had to be repositioned because it was so big. She had to wear a bra with the type of dress that she had on. So
hold on. The dress that she also had on had one shoulder out.
Right.
So if you think about it, those kind of dresses, you have to pull the dress out of the breast out above the
Mhm.
breast. So the baby, there was no discreet way of the baby, of you breastfeeding. You had to literally pull the breast out in order for the baby to even be positioned to breastfeed. Listen, like I said, I don't care nothing about the breastfeeding. I don't care. My personal opinion is you are not alone. You're not alone. And you need to do all of this in front of people. Not only people, women, people, men. And that's just way too much going on at a table. And I think that needs to be considered when you're in public. So I don't have a problem with the disagreeing. I'm just curious as to what the disagreement is. Join the conversation. Join the conversation. Okay, Pastor K. Okay, I'm not paying attention to Al and his nonsense. Pastor KL says, "How about the one who has more than one child, so it's not firm and not." I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. No. Oh, wait, Lily, what are you replying to? I hope you're not replying to Pastor KL because we're not paying attention to that comment. We're not paying attention to that comment. But in at least this panel, because I didn't know who would feel the same way outside of Shantice because we talked about it. But I didn't know if Tamika felt that way. But again, the room, for those who have spoken in the room, for those who have stayed silent, maybe they're neutral, maybe they don't want to say anything different. I don't know. But personally, when I go out, I think that like I said, I didn't raise 3 kids. Ain't nobody got to tell me about the plight of raising children. I get it. I get it. I get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. I get it. I think, again, the perfect term was this is the new norm. And what has happened is it's not about how everybody feels anymore. It's not about that. It's about how I feel. And I think we need to become more conscientious of the fact that we do not live in a world by ourselves. And I'm going to stop there because we're going to close. What time is it? We're going to close. So I want you ladies to close. Say what you how you feel. No, I'm laughing. I'm replying to you, Mr. Yes, I'm sorry. It's too much. It's too much. Tamika, you got first leg to give your closing.
So that's why I put that whole topic of new normal, which I cannot stand. But we live in that type of setting. You think about something as simple as, you're sitting on a train, minding your business, maybe reading your book. Somebody decides that they want to play music. Wait a minute. Why you don't use your headphones?
Right.
Everybody has to be subjected to what it is that you want to do. We look at these people. Showtime, they get up there, they flipping across the seat, and they like, do you
over your head? Yes.
Why see your feet go across my head? Like, what is going on? But but it's okay with you. Again, same thing. I understand that. Trust me, we understand the plight. Baby wants, baby needs, the baby doesn't want to be covered. We get that. But then make the necessary preparations. Buy your headset, buy your headphones. You want to dance, go out somewhere in Manhattan where they're spending money. Be considerate. I just think that with this new normal and this whole type of thing, anything that I want to do is game at anybody's expense. And I think that we have to be considerate of other people because other people are involved. You're sitting at a table where people are eating. Please have some modesty. The same thing. I'm sorry, I said it was a high school. It's a junior high school. People are getting ready to engage in going to high school. You're trying to provide their information. They can't even focus on the documentation that you're giving them because they're looking at your open breast. There were males and females there. And so you have to be considerate and be a little bit modest for yourself because, other people, you don't even understand the implication that you're doing in front of these children. They have to, again, we have gotten to the point where we normalize this, this behavior. We just had 2 men say, oh, I saw it on television. Oh, I saw it on the subway. So these things are becoming normal behavior and we submit to it. Oh, that's, how many things we see on the news, things that we know are bizarre, but because we've gotten to the point that we see it all the time, it's fine, you know, and I don't think that it should be.
Okay. Thank you. Shantice, how are we closing up out of here?
The Bible says an unstable man is unstable in all his ways. And that is one of the verses that has been smacking me over the past couple of weeks. And people keep thinking that God's word ain't real and it don't come to fruition, and it does. Lady Tamika gave a perfect example. My 11-year-old niece despises when we're in the street and someone is blasting their music, like walking by. And she always says, Auntie, if they can afford that speaker, they can afford a headset. And I was like, keep that energy, man. Keep that energy. It's the same response with the same aggression in her voice every single time. And I'm like, keep that energy. And why is it so easy for people to do that? Because they're inconsiderate and selfish in every other area of their life. It sounds like we dragging it. It sounds like what that got to do with it. It does. Just allow God to show you your life. Not just today, not just this incident, your life. For you to sit there and do that, for you to walk. Where were we we were somewhere secluded. Oh, we were in Primark. And all you hear, I thought they put a DJ up in the store. All you heard was, if it wasn't for him moving, because at one point you heard the sound here and then you heard it there, and we like, me and my niece, we like, well, what is happening? That's what we said. And I'm like, you would have thought they put a DJ. A DJ would have been dope because it would have showed the overall tone of the store. You go to a sneaker store in Manhattan, sometimes you go to a Foot Locker or something, they blast the music, but you understand why. That's the arena for that. That's the atmosphere they're creating for that. You're walking through a department store cussing with the music blasting because obviously one of the employees done told you got to vacate the premises with your music, sir. And now we got to hear you at N and all this other crap because you chose the speaker over the headsets. And I can guarantee you, if we spoke to his mother, he was doing this at 8. And now he's 68 because he was old. And now you 68 going to be Radio Raheem in a department store. Everyone has to be like it was another verse that was quoted a little while ago. Lovers of themselves. I believe that's 2 Timothy chapter 3. When God says how people are going to act during the end times. It's all about you. These things show we show who. This is why I keep saying we ain't got to ask questions no more. Just shut up and sit back and let people do them. People are going to tell you who and how they are. So if you don't want to be exposed, stop exposing yourself. Because you don't have to say, I'm a good person. I'm not selfish. Because when you sit there and breastfeed in front of the masses, you're selfish. You have to consider what is it? So maybe you may not care, and again, maybe you may not mind that being done in front of you, but there's something that you don't like. Be considerate for other people.
That's good. That's a good one. That's good. That was a good one. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Another verse. Amen.
That was a good one to close with. Thank you so much, my ladies, for your contribution into today's conversation, and we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you too.
Good one, ladies. Good one. All right, let me close this by reading these. Al says, just do it with some class. This is just selfish. Lily says, oh my goodness, like the people who smoke on the train, it's so disturbing. So let me say this. I think Shantice nailed it because in my head, this is what I was thinking. So Lily mentioned smoking. Tamika mentioned something of the music. Shanti said even a child mentioned the selfishness. And this was a good opportunity for that particular point to be met when Shanti said, well, think about some other things that you may do. Now, this is a prime example of how you don't like this music to be played, but think about something else that you don't like to be done. That nailed it. Tamika mentioned the people on the train. I'm becoming a lot more sensitive to things. And I've been saying to you all, and I really went into detail yesterday about how God is just exposing. And here's as we were talking, here's what God gave me. He's using all of these things to send his messages. How we're becoming sensitive over. And here's the thing. Here we go. How we're becoming either sensitive to things or how we are becoming desensitized. How we're becoming desensitized to some things. But all in all, there's a standard that's led by God. Woo! I say it all the time here. God is using all of these stories. You know, it seems a little odd maybe to some people that we're a Christian broadcast, but yet we talk about news. And one of the things that, because I didn't see that coming. When God gave me the broadcast for the morning, I didn't see that coming. But God revealed to me, he says, I'm using these stories because I don't want you to have to make up anything. Because see, here's what I want to do for my people. For my people, I want to show that this is happening in everyday life. And we're going to have to pay attention to all the things that are happening in life in order for you to step your game up and meet me where I want you to step up to. I need to show you what's not good so that I can prove to you what I'm talking about, help you understand what is good so that you can step your game up. See, here's the problem. Men don't want to step their game up. So when you say things like this, everybody feels attacked. And I'm watching this. I'm watching how God is making you more sensitive and how people are becoming desensitized to things. All we're saying is consider everyone. And what if you were raised properly, why should anybody have to tell you that? Because we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Immoral. That's what that basically means. We are immoral logically. On the baseline, we're immoral. Not you, not me, and not them. Not them and not them, not us. We were all born in sin and shaped in iniquity. All born in sin. We have all sinned and fallen short to the glory of God. Every one of us. Ain't nobody born here better than the next one. But here's what God wants and has called. See something? Say something. Hear something? Say something. I can't allow you, Stephanie. I've called you. I've called others. I've called this Due Time crew together on this platform to sound the alarms. Will it make some people unhappy? Absolutely. But here's the thing that I love about God. It has to hit us first. So whenever we're talking, it has to hit us first. So it made me think at that table. That's why I said Shanti's nailed it. And this was in the back of my head. When I said it, I said, Lord have mercy, what in the world am I doing that people don't like? Because that's the way you have to think. That's the way you have to think. I am living in a world. And Tamika said it when she said, this is now the new normal. And when I say now the new normal, I mean everything. when they gave the permission and they made weed legal, God help you if you don't smoke weed, because now everywhere you went, it didn't matter. You're inhaling weed, you're breathing weed, your eyes got weed, your head got weed. You couldn't step into certain places because your clothes smell like weed. Just to hell with everybody if you didn't smoke weed. Because that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. So are you telling me that you care about the fact that somebody puts you in a weed environment, but you don't care if you subject someone else to something else? What God is doing is he's calling not our attention only to other people. He's calling his attention to us, to ourselves. Because every time I watch somebody do something that I don't like, that I feel subjected to, instantaneously my mind goes to, well, what in the world am I doing? Because that's the Spirit of the Lord. That's what the Spirit of the Lord does. It's not Stephanie. Because Stephanie was born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Stephanie has no morals. Stephanie has no exact right thing to do. We talked about it yesterday. The Spirit of the Lord is helping me to become more conscious and aware. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be subjected to certain things. And guess what? As a person in this world, I have a right to feel that way. I too was on the bus, and I don't ride the bus. I do not ride the bus. Why? Because my endurance level to walk to the bus stop, stand up at the bus, to get up on the bus, to stand up on the bus, I don't have all that endurance. So I very rarely ride the bus. But the one time I was on the bus, I go to the back. I do have a seat. I don't have to go far. But now guess what I'm subjected to? The man sitting in the chair, blasting his little speaker with all the rap and the cuss words. And now I can do cuss words. But my thing was, you on a bus. Why does everybody have to listen to what you're listening to? I have neighbors that I have the same issue with. It don't matter. It could be a Monday night, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Sabbath morning. It don't matter. There are children living above his head who have to go to school. But because he's a DJ, everybody in the neighborhood has to listen to the music. And they party all the time. All the time. All the time. So as they're partying all the time, they occupy all their cars in the back. And what that means is there's no parking back there. So now I'm subjected to not being able to park my own car. And now I'm subjected to not being able to walk out my door and not have a car standing here, and I have to ask them, can you move the car so I could go out in between your cars? I'm not telling you my plight, my personal business. What I'm telling you is we are now living in a world, it doesn't matter. Only I matter. Only what I want to do matters. And can I tell you something? God is not happy with that. And I don't think we're picking up our Bibles enough. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think we're picking up our Bibles enough. Because I'm going to tell you something. I very rarely, I really don't bring anything that I can't take you back to the Word of God. So I brought you 2 verses personally. Lovers of themselves, because that means selfish. How else do we say that? In street terms, it's selfish and self-centered. 2, love your neighbor as you love yourself. There are going to be things like Shanti said you don't like. And you want to be considered. You don't want to be considered. You want to be considered. There are things you simply don't like. And here's what God is going to do for us. He's going to give us back what we give out. You reap, there we go. You reap what you sow. 3 verses. So when these little things you do don't seem to matter, these little things you do seem like you just don't care about anybody else, these little things you do are infractions against other people, but yet over in your neck of the wood, you want your neighbors to pick up their garbage. You want your neighbors not to blast their music at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you have a small child living in your home. You want people to make sure they're not standing outside your, but that's one of the reasons why I moved to a house. I can't stand when I'm going and coming from work and I gotta say, excuse me, pardon me. You see me coming in the building. Why you just don't separate so I could just get up in there without having to say, excuse me, pardon me, I'm jacking in between spaces. I didn't want to go through that. So since I could not control the building, I got my own home. But that's not life. We can't duck and dodge everything in life. We can't. We're not going to be able to get away from everything. But it is going to take all of us as a community to consider one another. Plain and simple as that. That's all I want. That's all I wanted when I was sitting there eating. Al said, you know what, I would just leave the room. So they invited 200 guests. But now you got part of your guests uncomfortable because one of your guests is doing something that makes them uncomfortable. And we're not talking about just sitting there. No. So how many other people felt like Al felt? And he would just get up. He gonna take his plate with him. I'm sorry. These people have paid for us to have a table setting. They didn't pay for us to hold plates in our hand and have to get up and leave the room. We were eating off very heavy glass plates. I have a hard time standing up. So now I should stand up and leave the room because there's someone in the room doing anything. I don't care whether it was breastfeeding or anything that other people were uncomfortable with. And that's all I need to point out to you. It's that we are living in a world where other people occupy that space. And God is calling our attention to treating other people the way we want to be treated. And here's the funny part. Most times, the people who go through these infractions have high standards in other areas. So in other words, I don't like this and I don't like that. I don't want this and I don't want that. Please make sure you do this. Please make sure you do it. But yet there's that thing that they're doing that's like calling out of you. So if anybody seems to have missed the point of just understanding that when you're in a community setting, consider others. It may be very convenient for you to do something, but if it means that it inconveniences someone else, that is what God wants us to pay attention to. When we go to concerts, people love to stand up. I will not buy a floor seat. I don't care how much I love Anita Baker. And they gave me the floor seat for free. I'm not occupying that chair. Why? Because when people have a good time, they want to stand up and they want to dance. Now here's what their thought is. I paid my money. I bought my ticket. I'm in this arena. They invited us here to have a good time. So now their good time now impedes my good time. Because all I want to do is just see. But because I can't stand that long, I now have paid my same $200, no more than your $200, no less than your $200. But I can't. So here's what I do. Instead of trying to impede and make somebody feel like I don't want them to have a good time, I buy a theatrical seat, a seat where it puts me above you to sit behind you. So if you were to stand, I can do this or I can do this and I can still see. Now, it might be a little inconvenient for me to do this or this, but I've considered. I don't want to have to stop and say, can you please sit down? I can't see. Because people would be offended by that. Now, you shouldn't be, because you are impeding someone else's view. And I have sat next to people who have been miserable at a concert because they can't see. Now, a concert you want to hear, you want to see as well. And they are miserable. And these people I don't even know. And they are so unhappy. And that was so that whoever was standing up could have a good time. And if it means that I have to sit down so that other people can enjoy, then maybe that's what I have to do. But if we're not living in a world like that. We're living in a world where that person would be mad. I pay my money, I want to have a good time. And I'm not trying to block the good time, so I just work around it. But we should not be in that frame of mind. We should not be in that frame of mind. Well, if somebody can't see, we are annoyed. We are so annoyed. And yet, there are things that we want. So there's a balancing act here. You have to give a little and you have to get a little. But we always have to understand that we do not live in a world alone. And that's what God is telling us in this word of God. When I tell you that this word of God covers everything we're going to experience in this world, and it will speak to it, it will, the word of God is alive and sharper than any double-edged sword, dividing right from wrong, good from bad. Always, it's alive. And it is always splitting the right from the wrong. And what's happening is when you're hitting people, see, here, let me show you something else. If I love you, pay attention. If I'm sitting at the table with you, when I come over to you and I say to you, listen, Shantice, I know you need to breastfeed, but other people may not be comfortable with that. That's what I'm going to do because I love you. I'm going to point out to you that other people might be a little uncomfortable. Let's go. I'll go out with you. If you don't want to be by yourself, I'll go sit outside with you. I can talk. We can laugh. We can chat. So you don't have to be alone. I'll go outside with you. But I love you enough to help you understand that other people in the room may not be comfortable. And you have to consider that. We cannot be lovers of ourselves. When the word of God says that people will become lovers of themselves, that's not a compliment. When it says people will become selfish, that's not a compliment. When the word of God says people will become self-centered, that's not a compliment. That's an alarm. Don't be surprised of what you see around you. Be careful that you will not become like that. And that's what God has us saying to you today. Be aware. Be aware. It's not that we don't understand, but be aware that there are other people like Al who would get up. And I don't care if it's one person. I don't care if it's one person. Because in another arena, you may be that one person. I have a neighbor, a young man, who smokes his weed. Now, he doesn't go in the house to smoke his weed. So I guess there's no infraction in his home. But guess what that means for Stephanie? That I can't sit in my house and anywhere on my first level because now I'm inhaling all of the nasty smelling weed. Somebody would say, well, people can smoke weed. Yeah, but you're smoking weed at my inconvenience. Because I might be sitting in my living room looking at TV. So now you're not smoking weed. We're smoking weed. We're doing this thing. We're listening to your music. We're having you over our heads while you're dancing and flipping because you don't want to rob somebody instead of doing your little acrobatics on a train. We're now involved. Be alarmed that it can be you and it will be you later. That's all. Understand that what goes around comes around. Yeah. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I don't want to get bad because I've given bad. I see, I love this God we have because, like I said yesterday, always snatching me in my collar. So what I saw that I didn't like, it makes me now think more. So he's saying to me, hey, I'm going to make you think. I'm going to show you. Be aware. I love that God. And if you don't love that God, shame on you. You know why I say that? Because the word of God says that he loves his family, and his family he chastises. He said, I chastise those I love, and I call my family. And when we're so picky, we don't want nobody telling us we can't smoke our weed because it bothers us. We can tell somebody they can't play our music. Like Shanti said, they told them, listen, you can't play your music here. So now everybody's an MF and an N and this and that, and you cussing and all of that kind of stuff. God is chastising you. Love it. Because he could let us live in our sin. He could let us live and just turn his eye and awareness away from us. Is that what you would prefer? No, I'm sorry. God, keep knocking on my door. Even when I'm annoyed, just keep knocking on my door. Thank you for loving Stephanie enough to keep knocking on my door. Go before the Lord today and ask the Lord to expose to you anything that he does not enjoy about you. Since you may not want to hear it from people, go to God directly and ask. But I'm going to tell you something. You're going to want it from people sometimes. Because when God give it to you, it hurts. So just be smart. Be smart. And pay attention to everything around you. And let God continue to knock on your door. And be grateful. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off. And I want to thank my Due Time crew, the ladies, for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us and helping keeping that chat room alive. I love the conversation. I love the conversations. And that's what we're here for. Please do not miss this opportunity to just welcome Jesus into your life. Make him your nucleus. The nucleus and the point of your life. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares, where it's Therapeutic Thursday. Until then, I love